Okay, this is it. The time has finally come. It's time to put my money where my mouth is, or more specifically, my backup phone or my Android phone where my iPhone normally is. Basically, to cut a long story short, I am finally properly switching from the iPhone 15 Pro Max to the Samsung, nearly got the name wrong then, the Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra. And I'm properly doing it. This isn't one of those Apple fanboy switches to the S24 Ultra for 3 hours videos. This is me taking the SIM card out of this, the SIM card that has been in an iPhone for at least 10 years, out of here and putting it into this. But I do have some very good reasons for doing this, and I've distilled it down to 6, which I think you're going to find very interesting. But first, a very quick word from today's sponsor, which is Benks. And yes, these are iPhone cases, which makes that a little bit ironic given the subject of this video. But I'm aware that lots of you are going to be keeping your iPhones. For that reason, trust me, if you need a case, look no further. These are 3 brand new MagClap iPhone cases from Benks. There's the London version, which provides a top-down view of the capital and the marked route of the London Marathon. That's ideal for anyone who loves that city, and obviously for anyone who is crazy enough to be training for the marathon this year. There's also New York, which is another top-down view of that particular city, and again the route for that marathon, should you be brave enough to train for the 2024 event, or if you just love New York like I do. And finally, Mount Blanc, which is a tribute to the pinnacle of adventure. And because these are Benks cases, all 3 are slim yet very strong. They have an elevated, gorgeous design. They've got that raised camera lip for protecting those all-important lenses, and they are easily detachable and put onable as well. And of course they are MagSafe compatible as well. Benks have knocked it out of the park again with these cases. The design is absolutely lovely. They're unique, they're inspiring if you're a runner obviously, but they just look really nice and they really complement the iPhone 15 Pro Max perfectly. If you want to really protect your iPhone and do it in a way that looks as good as this, check out the link below. Right, let's go for a walk because I've got some explaining to do. And to show you how serious I am about this, I'm going to shoot the rest of this video on the S24 Ultra. I haven't changed anything. This is the selfie camera. The audio is straight out of the phone. Let me know what you think about this in the comments. Reason number 1 is the fact that I've said on numerous occasions that the S24 Ultra is the best smartphone I've ever used. And if you make that claim, surely it should be your main smartphone. I knew it was special when I first got my hands on it in Las Vegas at CES, but when I bought one, which is this one here, I've not been given this. This is my own S24 Ultra that I bought with my own money. I realised it's damn near perfect. And yes, it does lag behind the iPhone still a little bit in terms of camera performance, but it's only a little bit now. That gap has been closed, and everything else makes this phone, like I say, damn near perfect. And if I keep saying that, I should just use it. Reason number 2 is that us tech reviewers are really annoying. We are. We know the whole I'm switching thing is really irritating. It had its place, it was a bit tongue-in-cheek, it does bring in loads of views and engagement, and yes, I've played on that as well, but you're not stupid. Are we switching? Aren't we switching? What does switching even mean? Does anyone care? I get it, the joke has been completely rinsed to being nothing more than a dried up old sponge now. It's time to get real. Excuses about the iPhone being welded into processes and copy and paste from your Mac being really important, all of that stuff, it just needs to give. It is time to switch properly. Reason number 3 is the fact that, believe it or not, I haven't always been an iPhone user. I very briefly, admittedly, switched to the Moto G, the 2nd generation Moto G back in, I think, 2014. So I have done this switching thing. I've done it a long time ago, and I remember being amazed by the difference in owning and using an Android phone. The price of that Moto G played a big role in that, obviously, and that isn't the case with the S24 Ultra at all, but the freedom that I found with Android and just the ability to tweak the operating system and also just the break from iOS and the iPhone, I really enjoyed. But that was 10 years ago, 10 years of using the iPhone ever since. I'm just a bit bored of it. I want to change. Reason number 4 is that I need to explore the Samsung ecosystem well, I need to explore it. Every time I come on here and say that I can't switch to a Samsung phone because of the Apple ecosystem, a lot of you understandably say, there is a Samsung ecosystem, mate. Hands up, I've never tried the Samsung ecosystem. The closest I've got to it is using the watch, the Galaxy Watch, but that isn't great, to be honest, sorry, and it's not enough effort. I'm not putting enough effort into it there. And another confession, I've never used Samsung DeX. I keep hearing about how good DeX is. You guys keep saying to me, check out the Samsung ecosystem, so that's what I'm going to do. Reason number 5 will be familiar to people who listen to the 8 or 16 podcast. If you don't, there's a link down below. But I've been doing that now for about 3.5 years with a guy called Rob, who is just as much of an Apple geek as I am, and he's been using the iPhone for many years, but recently he switched to an Android phone, and not just any Android phone, and it wasn't the S24 Ultra, although he does have one of those as well. He switched to the Honor Magic V2, and the reason that's so surprising is because it's a foldable, and if there's one thing I didn't think Rob would ever do, it's switch to a foldable phone. But more importantly, he did it, and he completely ditched the iPhone. Now, Rob is definitely a power user. That's Windows XP. I've just walked into... that must be a sign. I've literally just walked into the Windows XP wallpaper. Anyway, Rob is a power user. He is much more of a power user with his phone compared to me. So if Rob can do it, if Rob can ditch the iPhone that he's used for many, many years and build this kind of ecosystem of his own around, I can definitely do it. Reason number 6 is that I owe it to you, and this isn't a soppy kind of, get the violins out and let's all be friends type thing, although we are friends, aren't we? Basically, I have been talking about this for ages, and this channel, this business would not exist without you, and I think if I keep peddling this thing about this phone being the best phone in the universe ever, yet I'm still using my iPhone, that's not fair. I think I owe it to you to really find out if I can switch full-time to the S24 Ultra. This will go one of 2 ways. I'll either switch to it and be blissfully happy for the rest of time until the next phone comes out, or it won't work and I'll find it so stressful and tricky and difficult. The whole thing about, the grass isn't always greener on the other side, that might happen as well. But I need to find out. I've got to do this properly. It's my job to tell the story of this switch, and that is exactly what I'm going to do. So the big question is, am I nervous? And the answer is yes. This is going to be a proper switch. So as mentioned earlier, I'm taking the SIM card out of my iPhone, which has been in an iPhone for over a decade now, and I'm putting it into this phone. I'm also taking the Whoop band, that's going to be connected to this as well. My Garmin Mark Commander review coming soon, that is going to be connected to this. All of the, basically every Bluetooth accessory I use and rely on is going to be switched to this. I'm not throwing the iPhone in the bin, obviously, but it will become a backup phone. I'm leaving it at home, I will not be using it. It's just there if there's an absolute emergency, but an emergency is if this phone breaks. This is going to be a really interesting journey. If you want to follow, make sure you hit that subscribe button and give me a cheeky like, that's always appreciated. If you'd like to get my 6-month thoughts on the iPhone 15 Pro Max to see what led me to this decision, keep watching for a link.